Police regaining now control of the U.S. Capitol after supporters of outgoing President Donald Trump stormed that building last night in last night's insurrection, which saw one woman shot dead, as well as the discovery of explosive devices. 3 other people died of medical emergencies during those protests, with officers making 52 arrests. This is according to Washington, D.C. police. However, just after the chaotic scenes, the U.S. Congress was still able to certify Joe Biden's victory as the presidential election. Let's speak to Malcolm Nance, author of The Plot to Betray America, also counterterrorism analyst. Malcolm, good to have you with us, sir. Thank you. Give us an overview to begin with. What did you make when those scenes unfolded yesterday afternoon in the Capitol? I mean, this was extraordinary stuff, and it turned out to get more serious as time went on, of course. What were your thoughts?
Well, first, as counterterrorism analyst for NBC News in the United States, I monitor right-wing extremist chat rooms, Telegram, Instagram, all of their internal communications and deliberations. And we saw this coming. I was up at 02:30 in the morning to watch them as they led into Washington, D.C. The only question that was missing was, would Donald Trump make an very explicit incitation for them to become violent in some way, shape, or form? When he said, we're going to march up to the Capitol, we're going to do this, and we're going to, there's some good Republicans and then there's others, and we're going to show them, that was the go sign. One of the things that we also did was we monitored the internal live video streams from the inside of that protest by some of the more violent extremists. They were already on their way to the Capitol before he finished his speech. They came to fight. They were relatively young. That was quite surprising. And they wanted to take over the building. Our problem with this is that 2 months ago, the FBI and Michigan State Police broke up a plot in which extremists were going to kidnap and kill the governor of Michigan. Their secondary plot was to take over the Michigan State House, lay siege to it, and then try and execute all of the liberal Democratic members of that party. That is what we were afraid was going to happen in the Capitol yesterday. Turns out somebody rigged a noose on the Capitol grounds on a scaffold. They went in, there were at least 5 people carrying firearms into the building, and they were there to do mob action. What we don't know, was there a nucleus of people there to conduct terrorism and kill, capture, or execute members of our government? It's an absolute disaster security-wise. I went through SWAT officer school with the members of the Capitol Hill Police, and many of them were sympathetic to the rioters. We saw that. You saw them let them in. They had virtually no rules of engagement to stop them. In any other circumstance, it would have been weapons drawn, and then they would have attacked and resolved the issue through the use of lethal force. ISIS now has a blueprint for attacking the United States Capitol.
What do you think? So what happened there? What was the thinking behind this? Did this instruction come from above? I mean, if I went to the Capitol building tomorrow, I couldn't just walk in the place. There'd be armed guards around there. And these were people that were clearly intent on causing a scene. Are you saying then, Malcolm, they were waved in? Or were the security services around the building just not very good? What are you saying?
No, on the western side of the portico, where the inauguration is going to take, it was open combat between law enforcement down there. The protesters who went around to the north side and came into the east gate occupied the stairs up on the east gate, and then that's when it apparently the Capitol Hill Police removed the barriers, allowing them to storm the doors. There may have been very sympathetic officers there. We don't know. There needs to be an internal investigation.
Yep.
As somebody this morning described some police as fifth columnists. We're taking selfie photographs with them. This is an utter failure. The last time someone tried this in England was a knife-wielding terrorist actually got to the gates of Westminster and stabbed a police officer to death. Sure. He was immediately shot and killed. This should never have happened. And what it shows is that the United States has a political divide that apparently supersedes law enforcement.
Who are these people, Malcolm? Who were they? Was it one group? Was it an organised event in the sense that everybody got an email saying turn up at this time on the Hill? Was it, or are these individuals who just came together under the mesmeric voice of their president?
All of the above. And in fact, 4 months ago, I started writing a new book. I swore I would never write another Trump book. I've written 3 already. And this manifested itself. They have a virulent cult-like base, and within that they have armed militias, they have armed terrorists, and they have people who have been completely inundated with the QAnon conspiracy theory, which is becoming the operative philosophy of the Republican Party. That now has turned into, and we've seen it manifested yesterday, an insurgency led by Donald Trump. He's almost like Saddam out of power. And he thinks he's viewing himself as president in exile. And they themselves now view him as an armed political paramilitary in order to keep him in power.
Yeah, and I guess the question now, Joe Biden becomes the president in 2 weeks. Can he smooth this over? I mean, it might not be an instant thing he can achieve, but do you think over time the next president is able to heal those divides, great divides that exist? I mean, across the world in many respects, but certainly in your country.
I don't know if he's going to be able to heal the divide, but what we can do is for the 60% of Americans who obey the law, who respect the government, who are not brought up in the Donald Trump cult, we are just going to have to enforce the laws. These are the same people who were angry that they were burning trash cans in Seattle and fighting with law enforcement. Law enforcement made a far more devastating, aggressive presence against relatively peaceful protesters than they did against the Trump supporters. Our problem is that Joe Biden will have to deal with a Donald Trump who will be acting like an insurgency leader. And he will have unarmed, sort of like the Irish Republican Army, right? Sure. You have your civilian supporters, then you have a political paramilitary underground. And I think that's what we're going to be dealing with for the next years.
Malcolm, it's great to get your insight. Thank you, sir. Malcolm Nance is the author and counterterrorism analyst with us here on the program.